during the playing of Tai Chi Form, why only certain parts of the body will be moving. That is called the yang parts of the body. Other parts of the body will be still, not moving, so-called the yin parts of the body. There are two kinds of force used in martial arts movements. One is the body momentum force. The other is the muscle and tendon elastic force. When body momentum force is employed, the whole body could be moving. So, entire body is yang, no yin. For external martial arts, both forces will be used. But for Tai Chi, we only use the muscle and tendon elastic force. Avoid using momentum force. The reason is that Tai Chi is trained to take advantage of opponents' momentum force to destabilize opponents. So we avoid using momentum force and only use muscles elastic force. We can now use spring action to represent muscles elastic force. Then use knowledges in mechanics to explain essential principles in Tai Chi's force generation. First, when utilizing a spring for generation of force, one end of the spring needs to attach to a stable anchoring base. For example, the upper body turning move. The twisting spring at the waist. One end is attached to the stable hip and the lower body. That is yin. The turning upper body is yang. In human body, there are many similar springs in action. Some are strong, some are weak. How do we manage them to get the best results? This figure represents two springs, one weak, one strong, connected in sequence, one end connecting to the base. When one presses the other end, the force received will first primarily the elastic force of the weak spring, not the strong spring. Only when the weak spring is compressed equivalent to a solid rod, then one will feel the elastic force of the strong spring. Let's using the above example to look at the forward push movement. In this case, there are three springs in sequence. One is the arm stretch movement. The second is the shoulder movement. And the third is the back and waist internal movement. The first two are weak movements. The last one, the internal movement, is the strongest. In order to get the strongest force of this move, the arm and the shoulder have to remain rigid, so-called yin. Then one will be able to deliver the full internal force during push forward. That is why during the learning of square form, we pay so much attention to what parts of the body are in, not moving, what parts of the body are moving, delivering internal force. The rules in mechanics regarding force directions also apply in Tai Chi. Force perpendicular, more correctly, orthogonal to each other. There will be no interference. In the following example, the pelvis follows the steps, moving forward and backwards. This motion does not affect the upper body turning movement because the two forces are orthogonal to each other. But if the pelvis also has some turning motion, then there will be effect on the upper body turning force. If the pelvis turns, now we have two turning springs in action. One is the internal waist turning spring. The other is leg crossing turning spring, which is a very weak spring. Therefore, hip should not have turning movement. Tai Chi martial arts application likely needs to use both internal and external forces. Based on the previous analysis, on the same hand, one should not use external and internal force simultaneously, but can be used sequentially. On separate hands, both can be used simultaneously.